Last week, CMS released their proposed fee schedule for 2019. Now, usually this is a non-event, but not this year. This year, in addition to releasing the proposed fee schedule, they released a number of changes to how CMS is going to pay doctors, as well as a number of other things. The biggest change? A proposed change in the way office visits are reimbursed. CMS is proposing to go from 5 levels to 2. In the new proposed fee schedule, there will be a payment for a level 1 code, and then the same payment for levels 2 through 5. Let's take a look at the numbers a little bit. CMS is proposing that a level 2 will go from $45 to about $92. A level 5, on the other hand, will go from about $150 today to $92. One getting a huge increase and the other one getting a huge cut. Now, CMS is not proposing to spend any additional money. Their money or their expenditures would be roughly equal under either program. What they're doing is, in essence, redistributing that money or redistributing income. So let's take a look at the winners or losers. First of all, primary care, internal medicine, family practice, net neutral. Both specialties would get roughly the same amount of money in 2018 as 2019. Where this really impacts is the specialists. And what it does is it takes those specialists that tend to have shorter visits, namely many of the surgical specialties, and some of the lower complexity non-surgical specialties, and it gives them more money. And those specialties that end up having longer or more complex visits, it takes money away from them. Put it in perspective. Under this proposal, dermatologists would get about a 25% increase in their Medicare reimbursement for office visits. That's about $219 million a year. Orthopedics would get a 13% increase. ENT an 11% increase. Podiatry would get a 28% increase, or another $226 million a year. Who are the losers? Well, the losers are specialties like cardiology, that takes a 6% decrease. Oncology, that takes a 10% decrease. Neurology and rheumatology both take 9% decreases. Neurology, for example, would lose about $100 million a year in revenue. Let's put that in perspective. The average neurologist makes about $250,000 a year. So if you cut $100 million out of the system, it's like cutting 400 neurologists. Now, I wasn't aware that we had 400 neurologists just sitting around with nothing to do. The next question that comes to mind is, okay, let's say this passes. What's going to happen? How is the marketplace going to react? How are physicians going to react? We all understand Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And there will be with this as well. I think there's a couple things that could happen. One is, some physicians are going to start to realize that, hey, I'm only getting paid for a level 2 visit. A level 2 visit's about 10 minutes FaceTime. I'm only going to do a level 2 visit. At the end of 10 minutes, I'm going to say, I'm sorry. You've got to come back to get the rest of your problems solved tomorrow. And physicians may start scheduling their office visits at 6 an hour, allowing 10 minutes per patient. If that were to occur, and if that were to occur across the board, in essence what it would do is all the level 5 visits would turn into 2 level 3s. And all the level 4 visits would turn into 2 level 2s, which is roughly the same amount of physician face time, just breaking it up over 2 visits versus 1. What would the impact of that be to Medicare? It'd be staggering. If every physician did that and converted their 5s to 3s and their 4s to 2 level 2s, Medicare would spend an extra $12 billion a year on office visits. That's right, they'd go from $24 billion to $36 billion. That's a 50% increase in cost, not to mention what it would do to patient care and service. Now, a lot of people are clamoring and saying, oh, this can't possibly happen. There's no way the government would do this. This has never been proposed. There's no way it happens. Well, 5 years ago I might have believed you, and I might have agreed with you. Not today. Today we live in a different world with a different administration. Now, before anybody gets upset, this is neither an endorsement nor a criticism. This is an observation. I'm not trying to get political here. But the facts of the matter are, we're dealing with a very different administration. We're dealing with an administration that is doing things that we wouldn't have even dreamed of a couple years ago. We're in a trade war with China. Most of NATO, Canada, and Great Britain don't like us right now. North Korea and Russia do. Again, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying that the rules have changed. And when you consider it from that perspective, something that would have been unthinkable 4 years ago, I think is a coin toss. I personally think 50-50 chance on whether this thing goes or not. And if it goes, we're going to need to keep an eye on it and understand what's going to happen, because things will change. So my message is, stay tuned. Keep an eye on this. We're going to know very quickly whether this goes into law, and if it does, prepare for it and figure out what's going to happen to your practice. Now, I need to shift gears for you for a minute, because there's another part that's really, really important. This one is critical, and I need to explain what's going on. See, what's going to happen is